Guys, quick reminder just in case you haven't listened to episode 138. I am taking a break right now to focus on my daughter's healing, and in between, I'm going to be cultivating some dope ass interviews and content to bring to you guys for season 2. So, in the meantime, check out these re releases.
Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, a safe and sacred place to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to be authentic. I am your host, Tisha Michelle. From the deep pain and loss of my best friend Gloria, I realized she gave me the greatest gift ever, remembering my purpose in life, which is to help connect you to your authentic self, guide you to remember your purpose, and remind you that your current circumstance doesn't define who you are. Join me as we heal, align, and glow together. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Seeing with Your Soul with your host, me, Tisha Michelle. How is everybody feeling? Oh my gosh, we just had a full moon in Leo and the energy has been so dope and just amazing. When we have full moons, it's an opportunity for us to reflect, right? We always can go within, and we always, are meant to really go within, so that way we could really truly lead the lives that we really want, right? And we really desire, right? By going within. However, when we have the full moon, it's like that energy is just like heightened, right? So with this being the full moon in Leo, it's all really about reflecting, right? And even asking yourself, how have I not been seen or not been heard in certain parts of my life, right? And do you want to be seen? Do you want to be heard? Because that energy right now is really all about putting yourself out there, right? And it could just be by you just simply having a conversation with something and expressing yourself in a creative way, right? And that creative way could be expressed however it is that you want, right? So it could be a conversation and you're saying, you know what, man, I really feel good. I really feel good today. And you can say something that even if it's on social media or a conversation with someone, and you simply say, have you ever just sat down, took a deep breath and just said, I love it here. I love my life. Life is amazing. Even if you have had some storms and some dark periods and stuff, you're just like, you know what? I love it. I'm happy, right? Or maybe there's like a blog that you wanted to do, something you wanted to really just like write about, and you just been feeling like, oh, well, what if nobody wants to read it? Or what if I get backlash or any of that stuff? This is the time to say, fuck it. I'm putting myself out there. This is the opportunity to shoot your shot, right? And you can do that anytime as well. It's just that a lot of times the way the planets are in alignment, they actually make this energy so much like heightened. It's kind of like the coast is clear, guys. Like you got the green light, make it happen, do it, record that podcast, talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about, right? So yeah, this is like, oh, what does my audience want to hear? And I get that. We want to say like, okay, I know my audience and stuff, but maybe there is something that is really stirring up inside of you and you want to do a video and you want to talk about it, do it. It's your truth. It's your creativity. It's the way that you want to express yourself and show up in the world. Do that shit, right? But first, reflect and really say like, man, am I being seen? Do I feel like I'm being seen? Do I feel like I'm being heard? And that could be in your personal life. It could be in, like with relationships, whether it's friendship or it's like a significant other, or whether it's a job, or whether it's like social media, whatever that case is. It's like, do you want to be seen and do you want to be heard? Because I know personally, and my belief is we all want to be heard, right? We all want to be heard, but it's just a matter of like, what are we going to do to be seen and what are we going to do to be heard? And again, it could be on a small level and it could be on a big level, but whatever it is tap into this energy, use this extra energy that's heightened to push you forward, but start by reflecting, really just reflect and go within yourself. So you already know how we like to start off around here. Actually, I thought I already did this part because I went on to a tangent about the full moon in Leo. My rising sign is Leo too. So the girl been over here just showing off, just like going for it. And it's been paying off. And when I say paying off, it's paying off like the way that I feel, the mood and the energy and the vibes that I'm feeling and that I'm then producing out into the world. So in this present moment, I am grateful for how productive I've been the past 2 weeks. So if you've listened to my other podcast episode, you heard me talk about the 90-day challenge that, I decided to do. And I have, a few people that came along with it too. And this was all inspired by the show Undercover Billionaire. So in my 90 days, I decided to focus on something, but also within those 90 days, I think I was like 7 days in, I said, I have another 90 days that I'm doing to work on something. And I've just been so productive and we've all just been inspiring and encouraging each other and sharing our wins. And even when we haven't been feeling like, imposter syndrome comes in and you start doubting yourself and that battle between you versus you. And just, it's just been good having like that support. And I've been so productive and I've knocked out things. And I sat back last night and I was like, damn, it just took me a couple of hours to get this done. And I've been putting it off for freaking years, like ridiculous. And then last night I was also working on something while I was on the phone with one of my friends, and she was writing a paper for her. She's in college. She's taking a class. She had to write a report. So while she was writing that report, which she was also inspired by Undercover Billionaire. So she wrote on one of the executive producers in The Star, Glenn, about his whole concept, and she was able to tie it into her personal self, that makes it work for there. So she's, on the phone writing that, and I'm on the phone working on my other stuff. And there was plenty of times when we were just quiet, and then we started laughing at the end of the conversation of like how we just get on the phone with each other, both working on something and not even talking. But that was so productive for us. And she was like, yeah, if I wasn't on the phone with you, I'd be just sitting here scrolling, watching TikTok, but I can't look at TikTok because I'm on the phone with you, which then allowed her to, work on her paper and get those things done. And I just started laughing, and I was like, that's so funny. And I'm like, it's just like, was like the best thing like ever, because we both were productive in the sense where we got results and we got things done. I had a checklist. I love my to-do list. And I was like, scratch. So just that feeling of being productive, because I will be like, yeah, I'm busy. But I'm like, what am I really doing? Like, how much time am I actually not really utilizing for my highest good, aka wasting time, right? But just, that feeling of being productive and getting things done, that's like looking at a bigger picture, because I'm all for living in the moment and not, stressing and worrying about the past and then projecting into like the future. However, like while I am in this present moment, I am working on things in this present moment that I know is going to shape a better future for me and like my children. So having and being able to cross these things off of the list that I know that's for the greater good in the bigger picture feels so good. So I'm super grateful for that. So now it's your turn. Unless you're driving, I want you guys to go ahead and close your eyes. That way we can get ourselves grounded, we can get ourselves centered, and we can express this gratitude, right? So I want you guys to take a nice long deep breath just by breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Some of you may be feeling some tension in your neck and your shoulders, and it just means you're just holding on to too much stuff. And you have to really reflect right now and say, what I'm holding on to, is it mine or does it belong to someone else? Okay. Let's take another nice deep breath, just breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more nice deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Yes. Doesn't that feel good? Yes, it feels good. Of course it feels good, because you just allowed yourself to just relax and be conscious with your breathing, right? So now you're going to come from this nice heart-centered space. What are you grateful for? Go ahead and pause this if you want to journal about it. You want to say it out loud. You want to say it in your head. Do whatever it is that you do. Just express that gratitude, right? All right. So today I want to talk about what a lot of people like to call like woo-woo. And what I want to do is I want to normalize these things that people call woo-woo, right? And that's like that, oh, that's supernatural, that spiritual stuff. Like, oh, that's that woo-woo, stay away, right? I used to call it the woo-woo too. And sometimes I'll still say it just so people can know what it is that I'm talking about. They're like, oh, that, that thing, right? So, but it's really just a natural part of life, and especially if you allow yourself to be open, right? So whenever I'm having a session with a person beforehand, I go through like my disclaimer and, I say these certain things. But one of the things that I say is I say like, I hear things, I see things, I feel things, and sometimes I just know, right? So there are actual terms for that. Those are our clear senses, right? So we have Clairaudience, and that means of clear hearing. So that means that the spiritual realm will be able to get message to you through you hearing, right? So sometimes in between sleep stage, I will hear things, right? I'll actually hear it. And it's like this thought like this in my head. Sometimes I will physically hear it. My daughter, who is 15 years old, her angels and her guides actually talk to her in a physical sense, but they talk so fast and all at once. She has a hard time like processing what, they're saying, but she hears in that way. They'll deliver like even through like, like songs and stuff, right? That'll like pop in your head and all, right? So it's really about that clear hearing, right? And then we have clairvoyance, which is where we see things. And when I say see things, we see things like in our mind's eye, in our third eye, where it's kind of like a vision, like a dream. And I like to say it's like a movie reel. Like for me, it comes through as a movie reel. So I'll like see something. So say I'm having a session with someone and, all of a sudden I'm just being basic. I'll see a car and I'll just see a car. But the feeling that I get is like, I'm super excited. And that message may be coming through for me to tell that person that car, you've been thinking about getting a new car. And, what your spirit guides are saying is that this is a positive move for you. Like you can do this. You're being supported, right? It's just like an example. And it's because I've seen it, right? Like I've seen it. And, just depending on the level of like the person and how things are communicated to them, they're able to see things in, like the future, but things like it's in the past. I remember early on in my doing this work, I said to someone, I'm seeing a baby. I was like, I'm seeing a kid, like a baby, and I'm seeing them like in a high chair. And I wasn't as confident in the beginning, like what that was and what to do with that. And she was like, yeah, I don't have any kids. And I was like, okay. She's like, yeah, I want kids. I don't have any kids. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just telling you like what I'm seeing, because I couldn't really give her much. Well, 2 weeks later, she messaged me to say, oh my God. She was like, oh my God. She was like, I'm pregnant. I was like, hell motherfucking yes. But what was coming through was that something that she was actually struggling with was she wanted to have a child. And she wasn't sure, like, is this the right time? And sometimes you just battle these different thoughts and the person that she was with and all there. What was given to me, which I wasn't able to articulate it because this was in the beginning and I wasn't as confident in really working with the energy. So I didn't need to say like, hey, yeah, I don't know what you're thinking and stuff, but you're pregnant, girl. But that's what was being shown to me was this baby in this high chair. And that's what spirit was given. But it was giving it to me for her, but through me being able to see it, right? And then you have this clairsentience, which means feeling, right? Which means you just have a feeling. So if you are someone that's listening on here and you've ever worked with me, you may have heard me say, like, I feel like I can't breathe right now, right? Because that will happen. So spirit, when they're because I'm a conduit, I'm the messenger, I'm delivering this, right? So when spirit is giving me like a message for a person, it may come through as a feeling, or I may say like, yeah, I'm feeling like I can't breathe, right? I remember with with my good friend, and she had me go in the room with her mom, and I was telling her that came up. I was like, I feel like I can't breathe. I was like, I don't know, something around like the lungs, right? And sure enough, that was something that was going on with her mom, but it was given to me through a feeling, right? Or I could just be like, I don't know. I was like, I would tell you, I'm like, I feel so like happy and I feel so like good, and I'll start explaining like how it is that I'm feeling, and it's matching with their energy and what's going on like with that person, and that's how spirit is like delivering a message. So like I might see something, and as I see it, then I have this feeling that matches it, right? So then I'll be able to, or if I get on the phone with a person and I'm like, oh, like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, tell me how you really feel. And they're like, oh, and I'll say, well, I will tell you what the feeling that I'm having right now. Then I will relay how it is, that feeling, to them, which then maxes that energy. And then you have Clairgustance, which is taste. Sometimes you'll start to just randomly taste something in like your mouth, and it's like a loved one or, ancestor or someone that's passed over that's trying to get you a message, but it's through like taste. I've never really, that I'm consciously aware of, experienced them getting a message through taste. And in my mind, I'm like, don't do that, because I'm gonna be real confused anyway. I'm not even gonna think that someone's giving me, like a message or anything of that sort through there. And then you have Clairalience. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And that's around smelling. And sometimes you'll get messages from loved ones. Like you can walk into a room, or you could just be sitting somewhere, and then all of a sudden you'll smell like this cologne. You'll be like, man, I smell this cologne. It smells like the cologne that my grandfather used to wear. And then it's like, oh, he's trying to get your attention now. Right. I remember one time I was laying in a bed and I smelled blueberries, and I'm like a blueberry, like muffin or something. Till this day, I still don't know what that meant. But first of all, I didn't even know what the smell of that was, because I don't like bang with blueberries like that. But it was very, very strong. And I think so. I just like had no clue. Yeah. So just had no clue really what was trying to, who was trying to give me like a message or anything of that. So we have those clairs. Those are our clear senses. And that is the way that the spirit, in the other realm, and I'm saying the other realm, in actuality, it's all happening right now, but that's a later conversation. Don't want to like lose you or overwhelm you in it. So just for context, I'm going to say the other realm. So in the spiritual realm, and people who have crossed over, again, if you listen to the last one, we talked about like our ancestors, but we have our spirit guides and we have our ancestors. And I'm going to do an episode where I will break down the different like levels and stuff like of that. But from the spiritual realm, they will try to give us messages, and they will give us messages through different ways. They're going to get to you some way or another. You're going to receive the info that they need. And especially if you're open to receiving it. So for me, a lot of mine is, I can't really even say which Clair is my dominant one. I even tried to like really think about it, but it really just all goes hand in hand. So I can't even say that I receive one more than the other. If anything, I would say is more of the feeling. I don't know. I can't even really pick. I think they're just equal and they go in conjunction. So yeah, so that's like that with me. So when I'm having a session with you, honestly, this is just me talking in general to anybody, my friends, just having like always channeling. I'm not intentionally channeling, but it's just what it is. Because trust and believe, if your spirit guides or your ancestors, your angels or whatever has got a message for you and I'm that open portal, best believe you're going to receive that message from me in perfect timing. And it comes through the podcast. It comes through a social media post. Yeah, I'll be laying in the bed and just hits me to say something and I'll jump up and I'll go on Instagram and I'll just, I'll go and post it or whatever. So it's never really like intentional with things that I say. It's just that when it hits me, I say it. Or if, I feel like texting someone and saying something to them because it just came to me, I'll just do it, right? I just roll with it because that's just how that is. You can happen to log into, you're feeling some type of way, you're going through something and then you log in on Instagram and the first thing you see is a post that I did. That's exactly what's going on like with you. I mean, that's not by accident. It's not a coincidence. Like, oh, wow, that's kind of funny. No, it was divinely planned. I just wasn't consciously aware of it and neither was you. But, when you're feeling a certain way and you're praying and you're asking for this guidance, it'll come in many different forms. And sometimes it'll come, if you're connected with me, sometimes it'll be something that I say, right? And I'm just speaking, my truth and I'm speaking what's coming through because this is just what was given to me. And it might not necessarily be like, oh, I need you to say this so it can help such and such. It's just like, I just roll with it and I just give it because that's my role. It's part of my purpose being here, right? So what I wanted to really kind of share with you guys was some of the ways throughout my journey that spirit has presented itself like to me, just giving you a couple of different like little stories in no particular order or anything. For about 2 years ago, my friend Wendy kept saying to, she's like, you need to write this stuff down. Oh my God, you need to write all this stuff down. I'm like, no, I'm going to remember. And now I'm like, oh my God, what else was it? What was it? I was like, dang. And I always say to her, I should have listened to you and just wrote everything down as it was happening. But I was so caught up in the moments. And I called it like I was skateboarding through life, just like loving life and just loving, all this new like self-awareness and just connecting with spirit and just letting spirit guide me and all of that good stuff that I wasn't even really thinking about. I was sharing it with the people I was close with, like, oh my God, let me tell you what just happened. Oh my God, in that sense, but I wasn't writing it all down. And now trying to go back and remember all those things and write it down, it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have and stuff. But some of these things I want to share with you just to bring you more of awareness that there's more to life than just what you physically see and just the mundane stuff. There's way more to life than that. And that there is another realm and it's very well alive. So when people say like, oh, that's that woo-woo stuff, or oh, that's that devil stuff, or oh, that's this and it's that, those are beliefs that have been formed from other people. And I'm not here to say that your belief is right or your belief is wrong. I'm just here to speak my truth and share my experiences and just open you up to another perspective. And it's totally up to you. If it resonates with you, great. And if it doesn't, maybe it's just not the right timing. And that's okay as well, too. No judgment, at all. However, like I said, I just want to share this with you because you may have experienced these things and you just wrote it off as like a fluke accident or it was a coincidence or you just did some things to try to debunk it by just like, nah, that wasn't what it was and question yourself. So maybe some of the things that I've experienced will spark something within you. And if you've experienced something like that and you weren't really sure what that was or what to do with it, reach out to me. I would love to have a dialogue with you and just, kind of share some of my thoughts just to open you up a little bit more and to see how you can make more conscious like sense of some of that, right? So when I say that I see things, meaning I see it in my mind's eye, I see it in my third eye, it's a vision. It is nothing in the physical sense that I see. I could just be sitting here, then all of a sudden I get a flash, in my head and I see it. However, the first time that I saw something that wasn't the first time that I seen something like in like a physical sense that wasn't like in my mind's eye was almost maybe about 2 years ago. It might have been shortly after my best friend had passed away. And it was probably about 2-3 months into this whole journey. I was sitting at the edge of my bed, and I think I was watching like Last Chance U. And I was so focused and looking at the TV. So this picture sitting on the edge of your bed, right there facing the TV. And I'm just looking at the TV, like, just enjoying what I'm watching. And then all of a sudden, I realized to the right of the TV was a Buddha, literally a Buddha, like floating in the air. And because I became consciously aware, like, holy shit, it then disappeared. I was like, oh my God. So I called Jessica and I was like, yo, I just seen a Buddha, like for real. Not like in my mind, like for real. And she's like cracking up and she's like, what did it look like? And I'm like describing it and she's like, look it up. So I'm just describing Buddha, orange, legs, and I'm just doing like, just Googling it until I can get an image of what it was that I seen. And I did. And then I started looking up, what did Buddha represent? And then I just started studying, right? And I love some of the concepts and the teachings and stuff. And it was so cool because I was like the first time I actually seen something, and I had seen it. When I think back to it, I had seen it for a while, but I was so focused on the TV. It didn't even dawn on me. Like, what the hell is a Buddha doing next to the TV just floating? Like, that's just not normal. Right. But I was so excited. But because I became consciously aware and consciously, I shouldn't see no Buddha floating in the air. Right. Because that shit's not normal. So because I was consciously aware, it then went away. But because I was soft focused on the TV and I was just relaxed and not thinking about anything other than what I was watching on the TV, it was able to present itself. So in actuality, there is a whole world that is happening right in front of us that we just don't see because we're here on earth. We just don't see. And that's not normal. So we don't see it. Right? We just don't see it. I remember my friend Wendy, her husband, when they called me because he seen a horse and carriage, like the buggy, and he was sitting at a light leaving out of his subdivision, and he was sitting at the stop sign, and he was waiting for it to go. He seen it and it was crossing. He was waiting for it to go, so to be his turn. And then all of a sudden, he fucking realized that shit wasn't physically there. He was the only one seeing it, and it was so funny because I love stuff like that because I am open to it and I do, believe it, right? So that was the first time there. So I remember shortly after my best friend had passed away, I was laying in my bed, and the way my bed, like the door, I was laying on the side closest to the door, and the door was kind of cracked a little bit. And as I was just laying there, I heard her voice, clear as day, say, Tisha. And I froze. And I said, not today. I'm not ready. And that was it. Right. So see, when we are speaking and communicating with, the other realm, people who have passed away in sense, or these spirits, these angels, ancestors, whoever is like trying to holler at you, they have to operate off of free will as well, too. So we're in control. So for me to say, not today, I'm not ready, they respect that. You're not welcome here, or you need to leave. You create boundaries when you're working with that energy, right? Just like I would create a boundary with one of you guys, right? I will say, hey, this is what this is, and I like to protect my space and blah, 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 blah. You do the same thing when you're working with the energy. So one of the boundaries that I've created is that if I am home alone, do not present yourself because I'm going to get scared. It's just what it is, right? Also, do not show or present something in my face that will startle me, right? So I already created those clear things. So a lot of being able to see in a physical sense, I know I have the ability to do that. I have the ability for them to appear as in a physical sense for me to see. But that is, I'll keep it real, that is something that I am not 100% comfortable with. I have a lot of trauma from past lives that I'm still working through to really step in and embrace like the healer that's within me and the teacher that's within me, because in past lives, I was killed for this. Right. This is why I wanted nothing to do with this in the beginning. Right. Meaning like with my mom and my grandma. So I'm like, keep that shit out of that woo woo. That shit's crazy. Keep that away, because my soul was still remembering that when I taught this and I did these things, I was killed for that knowledge. Right. And I have to keep consciously reminding myself as like, yo, I'm in 2021 now. Ain't nobody fucking killing me for shit, because I'm speaking my truth and I'm opening people up to spirituality, please. Right. So I have to keep going back to that sense. So, I had to create those boundaries because I'm not 100% ready to physically see these people and all these different things. For one, it'll be overwhelming and can be like a little scary in a sense. However, I am slowly opening up. And as I slowly open up and communicate, they then present themselves in a a way that's less for me to be afraid of, because there's nothing for me to be afraid of, but that's just that fake fear that's still instilled into me from past lives that I am working through, right? So when for me to say, I'm not ready, not today, I'm not ready, that, she respected that, right? So another thing with me is afterwards, when I went and got certified to be a hypnotist, I did a VIP day with the person who certified me. And the biggest thing that I got out of that VIP day, because the VIP day was to work on business stuff, right? It was just business. And that's what we did. But also she did hypnosis on me. And the focus on the hypnosis was for me to not be afraid when I'm like home by myself, right? It's really to not be afraid, because the more that in me saying that I'm like afraid of this gift that I have, it says that I'm afraid of myself. And to really, what sense does that really make, right? Being like afraid of yourself, right? Kind of like when you're afraid of your shadow or you're running from your shadow, it's a part of you. So yes, their shadow may be dark. Your shadow may have been painful and stuff, but it's a part of you. So you're running from something that you're never going to be able to run from. So why not embrace it? Right? It's a part of you. So that's what the hypnosis was like all centered around. So when I fly back from Vegas and I fly back home, I don't know where my kids were, but none of them was home. And I was just by myself. And this was the first night that I was home by myself. And after the hypnosis session, and my best friend presented herself to me, but she came through as a purple orb. And an orb is like a ball of like energy, a ball of like light, right? And you see them a lot in pictures, and people try to say like, oh, that's just because of this and that. No, it is our spirit guides. It is our ancestors. It is our loved ones, whatever that is appearing, as an orb in our pictures. Take your camera out one day and just go outside and just snap a bunch of pictures. Snap, 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 snap. And go back and look and see where you see like the ball of light that's there. Or do a video. And then all of a sudden you look and you see like the ball of light. Like they're there. So she presented herself to me as a purple orb. And I remember walking upstairs and I was in my bedroom and I turned around and there was this big purple ball of energy. And it just like came like towards me in like a slow motion type thing. And I was so fucking fascinated. I wasn't scared, not in the slightest bit. I was like, oh my God. I had nobody to tell because nobody was in the house, right? But I wasn't afraid. And I was like, damn, that hypnosis session was, powerful, because it really was powerful, but it was to open me up to be, to show that I was like not afraid and that I could be able to receive this. And the way to even test that out is to have the experience. So my best friend was like, oh, I'm about to show your ass. Don't you be scared of me. So it came through. And for those of saying like, how do I know that that was her? Well, purple is like her favorite color. Purple is my favorite color. Now, consciously, we weren't really aware of any of this stuff. So she passed away in 2017. So when I had my home care agency, we moved from the very first location to the second one. And we moved to that second location, I think in 2016. And it was a house. And it was this neighborhood where all the houses were actually businesses. And I've always liked that, to take a house and turn it into like a business. I just thought that was dope. So I found one, and that's where I rented for the home care agency for the office. So I had my ex-husband like do the modeling and stuff inside there. And everything in there was purple and gray, because that's the colors. And this was in 2016. So this is all before, passing and connecting the purple with like the highest spiritual color and our crown chakra. I didn't know anything about that stuff. I just know that I love purple. So it was purple, so that was just like with there. But my best friend, like she loves purple. And we also, because, I was diagnosed with lupus, I found out later that purple is the color that represents for lupus. And I'm like, damn, I've been rocking with purple and not really realizing or thinking of any real meaning and stuff to that. So now when we do things with my best friend, we always relate it with purple. So a lot of you guys, if you're connected with me, you'll always see me, I'll comment or something like with purple hearts. And that is me sending love. That is me cheering you on. There's so much like behind the purple hearts where you think, oh, it's just a simple emoji. It's just something easy. Like, no, that's like genuine love right there. When you see me dropping some purple hearts right there, because, so much that it represents. Right. So I know that it was her. And I also had the feeling, right? Again, remember that feeling. I had the feeling that this is with her. It's her. So I remember one time sitting in my spiritual room downstairs, and I was sitting there with a friend of mine, and me and him were talking, and his eyes just kept like moving over. And I was like, what do you see? He was like, yo, there's like a purple orb that just keeps moving around this room. And I'm cracking up. I'm like, yeah, that's my best friend. And he's open to, obviously, like, right. He's open to this, and he sees things and all. And again, he doesn't know any of that, but he's telling me he sees this purple orb that's in there. And I'm like, yeah, my best friend, she makes her presence known. Like, what's up, guys? I'm here. So yeah. So another way that spirit connects to me, especially in the beginning, was through numbers. numbers. I would see numbers all the time, and it'll be like 777, 333. I remember one time sitting in a parking lot and I was waiting for my son to come to the car, and I just start just looking. And I noticed all the cars in front of me all had, it was like 111 on there, 222 on there. And I'm like, yo, am I the only one that's seeing this shit right now? It was so crazy, bizarre. But we have angel numbers, and you can Google angel number, 7 or angel number 23, something that you keep seeing that's standing out. And when I say Google that, and you start kind of looking up different sites. So a lot of people have gifts, right? They have their unique gifts and talents, and the way that they express themselves to the world is a part of their purpose. Some people's is because they blog, and that's how they deliver their message through a blog. Some people is because it's numbers, and they put that into a site where they share information that they have downloaded when it comes to numbers and the vibration of that number, right? So it's not less like, oh, I'm just doing like a Google check. It's like you're Googling so you can get connected with people who are meant to give you information, so that way that they can, break down what it is that you're seeing, what is it that your guides are trying to give you, why do you keep seeing these numbers, and you read like that message. So I was getting a lot through numbers. And in the beginning, I actually went down the rabbit hole and did a lot of studying and tapped into numerology. I used to do reports for people. I used to do their life path numbers, right? And I used to do all this stuff that I would type up all these things and stuff when it came to numerology and give them this full-fledged report, because that's how spirit was working through me in the beginning. I don't do that now. I mean, can I still do it? Sometimes I'll give people things about numbers that are coming and stuff, but I don't go into reports or any of that stuff anymore. I graduated. Now let me stop. Another thing is through Massachusetts plates, right? So one day I rented a car. I was in Richmond. I think it's actually before I moved to Arizona, and I had rented a car. And when I rented the car had Massachusetts license plates. Now, mind you, I don't like renting cars. At one point, I didn't like renting cars when they have an out-of-state plate. I always just felt like people were just watching me and they knew it wasn't my car. Just ridiculous reasons. I just didn't like it. But that was the only thing that they had, and it had the Massachusetts plates, whatever. I go to UPS, and somebody was like, they said something to me, and I was like, what? And they was like, oh, I thought you was from Boston. So I guess it was like a saying or a slang or something. I was like, nah, I said rental car. And they was like, oh, okay, yeah, because I'm from Boston. I'm like, that's cool, whatever. So then people just kept saying stuff to me about the license plates. And I'm like, yo, that's weird. Why everybody keep talking about this damn Boston thing, right? So after that, all I kept seeing was Massachusetts license plates. It just kept coming up. So it doesn't matter where I was at. I remember driving from VA to New York, and all the way through, we would stop at a thing, Massachusetts place. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this Massachusetts, right? So then people started talking to me around Massachusetts. I remember being on the phone with someone, and they was like, oh my God, did you just hear them? And I was like, what? They were talking about Massachusetts, and I'm cracking up, because now I'm like, what is going on with this Boston thing? So I remember the person who does my Akashic records, and one thing she said, she's like, go. She said, go. Just go. Just pick up and go and put your energy there. So when the time presented itself, me and my daughter went. We went to Massachusetts. We just hopped in the car and we pulled up, and it was beautiful. We went to Salem and we stayed there, and we visited the town and got reading there and ate. And I just got to go through the Salem witch trial and just put the energy out there. I went to this beautiful place. It was this nice garden, and it had the water that was there. I took pictures, and I just put my energy out there, just to really see, why am I being drawn to Massachusetts? Well, I remember getting a reading, and two separate people brought up about me doing work in Massachusetts, and they even described this building and me working for companies and coming in with the whole mindfulness and really just, putting that there. And I had two separate people say this to me, and I'm like, well, I'm open. I mean, that's what's up. It was in my energetic field, right? So to this day, it hasn't presented itself in there. But what has happened with the Massachusetts plates is that spirit talks to me through those plates, right? So if I could be feeling down about something, and then all of a sudden I'll turn over and there's a Massachusetts place, and all of a sudden I start to feel good. Or I remember one day I was sitting in my room, and I was thinking to myself, I said, I haven't seen the Massachusetts plates or heard anything about that. And I started feeling spirit wasn't talking to me anymore, that was just over, and they just wasn't comforting me. And I swear to God, on everything I love, Not even 3 minutes later, my daughter comes in the room, the 15-year-old, and she goes, we really should go to Massachusetts again. And I just started smiling and I was like, get out of here. And I was like, Spirit really talks to me through her. And that was Spirit's way of letting me know, just because you're not seeing us, it doesn't mean that we've left you or anything of that sort. Like, we're still here. We got you. And I just got that overwhelming sense of like, okay. So whenever I get like excited about something and I'll be like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. I'm feeling really good. I'll see, not all the time, but I'll see a Massachusetts license plate. I'm in Arizona, yo. What you doing with a Massachusetts car out here? I was in Cali and I seen when I was like, yo, I'm done. This shit is crazy right now. But I'll be thinking about something or getting excited about it. And then I'll see like the license plate that says Massachusetts. And that's my confirmation that I'm on the best path, my highest path. So they'll talk to me like through there. Same thing with like, license plates and all. I lucid dream. I'll have a dream about something. And in that dream, I'll say something about what's going on in real life. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm in here lucid dreaming. I'm tripping, right? So our dreams are one of the most powerful ways that Spirit will communicate like to us because, we've night, like our conscious and the gatekeeper and everything is relaxed and is chill. And you're able to receive things more than just being out here. Because when we're up and we have so much chaos and so much things that's going on. And sometimes we miss the signs and the things that are literally right in front of our face. I'll get dreams to give a message to someone. I remember having a dream with about one of my friends, and it was something involving his children. And in the dream, one of his children, the little girl, had died. And I woke up, but I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel any type of way. And I remembered every detail of the dream. And I was like, the human part of me was like, how do you tell someone that you had this dream and that their daughter was dead without them freaking out? And I was like, then I thought about it. I'm like, he's very open to this. So he's going to know what's up. He'll be okay. But I battled it a little bit, but then something else popped up for it again. I was like, okay, let me just do my part. And I just texted him and I said, hey, I had this dream and it involved your children. Do you want to know? And he said, yes. So I told him everything about it. And there was this one part in the dream was where I remember saying to everybody that was around, and it was talking about his daughter. I said, am I the only one that can see her? And I kept saying, why can't you see her? Why can't you see her? And that just stood out so much. So I didn't know what was going on in his life. But when I gave him that dream, he knew exactly what that was. And he proceeded with the message that was given through that dream for him for something that he was handling that he went into. And then he told me later on of how the outcome was way better than the way he was in his head, but he wasn't opening himself up to see. But Spirit used my dream to give that message there, to him. And that's not the only time that that's happened. It's happened plenty of times, with just different people and stuff. I remember early on in my journey, I was in that in-between stages and of sleep. And I remember hearing Spirit say, interview 25 people around the word authentic. And I opened my eyes and I said, what? How am I supposed to do that? So I was like, screw it. So I just got on Facebook. This is when I was really, really big on Facebook. And I just said, hey, I'm working on something and I want to interview 25 people around the word authentic. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Nothing. And I remember so look, I'll post something on Facebook at this time because like I said, I was always on Facebook. I would post on Facebook and I could post a picture or something. Easily, real quick, 100 likes, right? Comments flooding and stuff. Post my inspirational stuff and everything. But I remember saying all right, I'm putting this out here, and I said, but connect me to the people that are, that this is meant for. And I posted it up there and it was crickets. And that anxiety starts seeking in. I'm like, oh my God. So I had a couple people here and there. And then I remembered, I was like, oh, that's right. I said, send me the people that are meant to connect with me on this. And that's why I didn't have a whole bunch of superficial likes and comments and stuff. So I started interviewing people again. I didn't know what I was doing. I just know that I got this message and I know that it wasn't for me consciously because I would never even said anything like that. I wouldn't even want to put myself out like that. That's just scary. So I started interviewing people and I said, when you hear the word authentic, I even went into Jada Pinkett's on Red Table talking. I said, when you hear the word authentic, what comes to mind? And I had hundreds of people responding and it was interesting. Some people were like tacos, jeans, handbag, being real, keeping it real, truth, all these different things, and just seeing that whole concept of what people thought when they heard the word authentic. So I started talking. By the time I got to the third person on the phone that I had set up to interview, I said to them, I just opened my mouth and I said, would you be willing to do this on television? And they were like, yeah. And I said, as I'm hearing you talk, I literally just got a vision of me recording this and this being like on TV. And it just started unfolding. Right. Everything just started unfolding. Next thing you know, I have this big production and this big production, team. And I end up filming a show, and I film it in New York, Virginia, and LA. And I ended up with 25 people. Now, mind you, it was only 23 people. And at the last minute, somebody hit me up and said, hey, I had somebody, if you still have some space. And then somebody else that wasn't able to make it, somebody else hit me up. And it was so funny because when it was all said and done, and I looked, I said I had 25 people. Even though I know he said interview 25 people, we weren't going to have 25 people on the show. It was 23. And at the last minute, those other two came through, and it was like, holy shit, oh my God, that's what it originally was, right? So sometimes spirit will give us an idea or give us a thought, and we have no clue what to do with it. You just need to just move. You just need to just move your energy and just do something, and it's going to continue to unfold. And like I said, when I got to the the third interview, I seen the vision. I was like, I'm going to do it here in my spiritual room. And that's what I did. I traveled on this whole big thing. That update to that's going to be a whole other podcast to tell you how that unfolded and how spirit protected me in a sense. And also how I had doubted like my gifts, and kind of was a little upset with spirit when it came to that whole production, because I dumped a lot of money into there. But again, that'll be another episode. Maybe I'll talk about that next. But yeah, so you'll get those things where sometimes it'll just drop into your head. And those are it's like the little spirit beings just dropping these little ideas for you, right? And it's because that's meant to be here, right? And if you don't move on it, it's okay if you don't, but it's going to go back out to the ether and somebody else is going to pick it up, right? Because that is meant to be here for whatever reason. But that is what spirit will do. You'll be in that in-between sleep stage and you'll just be like, oh, there. Some people get in the shower, right? They say that some of the best ideas come in the shower because you're cleansing yourself in that shower and you're opening yourself up to source and receiving those things, right? So my son, that story, like I might bring him on the podcast to share, because it is his story. I'm a part of the story, but it is his story and his path of how he was led to the football school, the school that he was going to for football. Well, one portion of that was I had a dream of the school that he was going to get signed to or whatever, right? I don't know why I'm drawing this blank here. But anyway, so I had a dream and I seen the school. I seen everything about it, but there was no name. And I'm like, come on, y'all. How y'all going to show me everything that's in here? So I'm telling him, I was like, I don't know where this is, but this is what I'm getting and stuff. Well, when we end up going to the school to meet with a coach, and this was in Baltimore, and we were driving. And as we were driving, I said, he's like, what? And I said, do you remember when I described everything to you? I said, this is it. This is the bridge. There's the building. This is this. And I said, holy shit. I was so hyped because it was already given to me. Even the mascot was already given to me, but I had no idea what school that was. It was like no name or anything. It's like, riddle me this, right? And when we was going over the bridge, I instantly had the vision of what was already given to me. And it was so dope. I wasn't able to say it at that time. And I was just like, look, there's these here and there's this. I don't know. These are the colors that I'm seeing, but I don't know what school. I'm like Googling and all that stuff, but it was given to me. Right. It was just given to me. I remember one of my care providers, her name is Quinita. And I remember I kept hearing things about her and reaching out to her and saying this. And I'm like, I'm not reaching out to my care provider and saying she gonna think I'm fucking crazy. And I'm also her boss and blah, 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 blah. And I remember laying in the bed and I went to go text somebody something. And I was like half asleep. And as I was texting them, I looked and noticed that I typed Quinita. I'm like, that was nowhere near what I was going to say. And I'm like, this is bizarre. I'm like, it's not even something common to really be saying, or anything of that sort. So I was like, okay, screw it. I'm just going to reach out to her. And I did. I just, put my big girl panties on and I just called her and I said, hey, this may sound crazy to you. Because for some reason, we always got to put a damn disclaimer, right? Once you put that disclaimer to say, hey, this might sound crazy, in that person's mind, they're already like, yeah, this shit about to be cray. But at that time, again, I wasn't fully confident. And I just reached out to her and I was just honest with her. And she was like, oh, I know exactly what this is. And her fiance had also just had recently passed away. And she was like, oh, I know exactly what this is about. And I gave her the number to Jessica, who had did my reading. And I said, here's the number. She's like, that's so crazy. You said that. I just had a reading with someone. I'm like, wait, you get readings done? Like, oh my God. I sat there with this shit for a week and struggled with it because I was so afraid that I didn't know how she was going to take it and perceive me. And again, this was in the beginning of like my awakening. Now I don't give a shit. It's my truth and it's my gifts and it is what it is. But it took a minute to build up to that. And she knew exactly what that was. But, Spirit used me to give her, a message. And that was the biggest thing that I have been getting a message now for the past 2 years. It was really around 1984, right? So I was born in 1980. So before, right? And that number always comes up for me. and I don't know what they're trying to tell me. And sometimes you'll get a message and it may be hard for you to like, quote unquote, figure it out, but it's really because it hasn't all unfolded yet. And because in the spiritual realm, time is just an illusion. You can be given something right now, but it's not going to come to fruition or for you to know the rest of it until years later. Because again, we just, and on here on earth, we just created this time to put some form of structure. But in the spiritual realm, there is no such thing as time because the past, the present, and the future is all happening simultaneously. Another podcast later where I'll break that down. So 1984 keeps coming up for me, not just seeing like just the numbers, but I remember one day I joined this like film group, right? Because it's all like, I'm really like building up like the network and really connecting into like the film industry. And it was a Facebook group and I got in the group and I forgot I was in the group. And one day I open up Facebook and the very first thing pops up from that group is somebody put a post, what happened in 1984? I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I want to know what happened in 1984. Started going down the rabbit hole. Maybe it was something that happened when I was like 3 or 4. So I did like a past life regression therapy. I did uncover something, in there. But I don't believe that that's what they were giving me, but that was something that I needed to make a little more sense of my life. I can share that in another podcast episode as well, because just to kind of help you guys also to see when you really do like past life regression, therapy, not just past life, it could just be like earlier years. And if you don't believe in past life, it'll just be past energy in earlier years of your life. And so I did, uncover some things there, but it still keeps coming up. And then just the other day, it happened with 2 people said something to me about 1984, and I just started laughing. I said, okay, spirit, I'm still waiting. I'm open to like receive. So sometimes you'll get messages and you'll see things reoccurring, but you have no idea what that means. And that's okay. It just might not have presented itself or unfolded yet. But when we get those ideas of things to do, just know that is spirit saying, hey, that I'm giving you the green light. Make your move. The coast is clear. But when we get those ideas that pop into our head and then we sit with it and we start getting in our head and we're like, is anybody going to want to do this? Well, how do I do this? How do I do that? We start to create barriers. Now there is barriers to that idea coming into fruition. That doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. And it just means it's going to be a little more difficult. But when spirit drops it in your head, spirit is literally saying, hey, I just gave you the green light because the coast is clear. So move, make your move, put your energy into it because the coast is clear. And the longer that you sit with it, like I said, that's when the barriers and the challenges start to come up. And again, those things can still come to fruition. It just may be a little bit tougher. But guess what? You have that resilience and you have that strength, and spirit gave it to you for a reason, and you make it happen. Now, if you're someone who gets bunches of ideas and stuff, don't think that anything is wrong with you. Be like, I just don't have to execute. It's just that you haven't just sat down with it and said, okay, you're giving me all these ideas. These are great. I don't have to do all of them. Which one really resonates the most with me? And then I'm going to put my energy there. And then the other ones that you don't do are going to go back out into the ether, and it's going to get picked up from someone else because it's meant to be here. Right? So we get to work alongside the universe, alongside the spiritual realm, and they will talk and they will communicate to us in so many different ways. So I've shared some of the ways and shared some of my experiences. So I'm really curious to see some of the things that you guys have experienced that you may have just chucked it off as like, oh, that was a fluke, or that was an accident, or, oh, that's funny and that's no big deal. Or maybe it sat with you and you still ponder about it and say, what was that? What was that? Like, was that real? In any of that sense? And if so, share it with me. I'd love to help you, process it. If I'm able to, I will definitely, help you in that sense. So yeah, but this is just my experiences, is my thoughts when it comes to I'm doing air quotes. You guys know I love my air quotes, but doing the woo-woo stuff that I really want to just normalize it and make it a usual thing. I don't even like the word normal. Like, 'cause who says what something is normal? I really like to use the word usual. Like, it's a usual way that people do in that sense, but I want it to be the usual thing. I want it to be the normal thing that, it's a part of life. It is a part of life. And when you open yourself up to that perspective, you start to embrace and you start to understand and you start to enjoy life just from a deeper and just like even more pleasant way. So this is what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for just tuning in all the time and like listening and giving me your feedback and just sending and stuff. I just think it is so dope and just like amazing. A couple of years ago, I wouldn't have even thought that I'd even be on here like talking, having a podcast and speaking my truth and talking about this air quotes again, woo-woo stuff when I was so afraid of it. I was so afraid of myself. I was so afraid of my heritage, my lineage. I was just afraid of all of those things because I didn't understand it aloud Hollywood and things to taint my beliefs and form and create my beliefs. And also from the past lives, which I had no idea about past lives. All those things was just there. And it just blocked me from really just truly living like my life and enjoying this whole journey and this whole process. And I'm in such a great space right now. And I'm so excited and just happy that I have opened myself up, because not only have I opened myself up, I've helped open up a lot of other people who have had such joy and such like aha moments and just awareness like with it. So I am super grateful and blessed and happy. And I love all of you guys. And until next time, bye. Thanks for tuning in to #certified. If anything resonated with you, I would love to continue the conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at @itistisha. And if you want to be a part of the #certified tribe, you can join my Facebook group by going to the search tab and putting in #certified. My website is conversationswithtisha.com. As always, have a great one on purpose. Love you.